over.
Yeah.
That law firm shit.
It's so, and I haven't thought about and talked about a lot of that in a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm more pumped about our birthday party.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
We've already started.
Okay.
But because I just want to bring up where we left off, which was the birthday party.
Right.
It's okay to throw it at your house.
Yes.
We like kids. Did you talk to your dad?
Yes. It's all
Okay.
good.
Okay. Well, how many people should we have?
I mean, how many people?
Well, if I were to invite people, I might know a dozen.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's fine. I think we could even invite over 50 people I don't think I even have that many friends anymore.
I just want to point out something before we get going. We're kind of getting started on a remodel, so
Oh yeah, do you want me to move my stuff?
No, you're
Okay.
good. It's just that this looks ugly, so I added this
I
cat
love
painting
the cat.
here.
Where did you find that?
Well, it's my. I think it was my wife's great aunt Mavis Mladonicki might have had this.
Wow.
And have you heard the story about these paintings?
No, but I recognize the look.
Okay, so they were very popular in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
And there was a man who was celebrated for painting it.
Okay.
And he toured and he made a lot of money. The whole time it was his wife and he was taking the credit.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was like holed up in the house and he was quite not nice to her to shut her up about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that. There should
Yeah.
be like a documentary on that.
So I put that there. So I'm sorry about
No,
this.
don't be sorry. I love this. It looks so Wayne's World to me.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm just going to let you get started.
Okay,
However
and
you
so
wanna do it.
I will get us started. You have a year in mind?
I do. Well, we're going to go places today and it's going to be
Great.
weird. You're going to feel a little dirty.
No, I mean, look, I feel dirty all the time.
And listen, if you're about to tune in or if you are tuned in, which case this is not radio, there's going to be some dirty stuff.
Dirty stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I should officially kick this off.
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to the Extracted Podcast. My name is Shannon Boyles, and I am the lucky host today to bring you Season 2, Episode 2, Jared Iwi. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you so much for having me.
In your own basement, where Jared is moving things around, getting organized, setting up backgrounds, and he calls it the Bang Bang Bunker. Why?
Because this is where mostly Cho-Cho, my dog, comes when there's bang bangs, whether it be thunder or fireworks.
Right, and we're getting into the fireworks season. And Jared, why are we doing this podcast?
We're extracting each other's stories. I mean, for goddamn sakes, how long do we have to live with all these things bottled up inside of us?
Years, essentially.
You know, I pop off a story here and there, but you just got to lay it out. And let's say I get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, it'd be nice for everybody to have some of these stories.
It would be nice. I wouldn't want you to be hit by a bus.
But it's nice. This is insurance.
It is.
Yeah.
It
This
is.
legacy
And
insurance.
This is legacy. This is, putting it out there so that your kids, when they're adults, can hear these fantastic stories one day. And it's also, getting us organized in our busy brains. And there's the whole gamification piece to it. And Jared likes to point out that I'm winning to 0.
It's been flat lately because I was shamed early on and I've tried to recover. Today, however, we're going to go deep and we're going to get dirty. So I'll likely lie awake tonight thinking, did I really say that? But I am going to, just be disciplined in my telling.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
With the same amount of flitting about, but still disciplined that I don't ruin someone's life because some of that actually happened in the story I'm about to tell.
That's a tease.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna get over it.
Great.
It's not that big of a deal. I still worry about live breaks I did in 1999.
Dude, I will lay in bed at night and think about things from 6th grade or college and just, augur over them. And it's pointless. You just got to forgive and move on. Yeah, augur.
Although it's really good. I just see my brother and I used to run an auger to dig fence hole posts. And so it's very appropriate drilling into the earth
That's
of
right.
your consciousness.
I am drilling into the doldrums of the bowels of my past when I'm talking my stories. But yours, I know, are much more entertaining and lively.
Well, you let me... Wait, is there anything else we need to cover? There was something...
Our birthday party.
Yeah, we did cover... Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, birthday party. I'll just start it before we actually started it because we kind of talked about that in a very, I think, casual and informative way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about why we're doing this. We talked about the gamification piece. And now what we do each time is one of us interviews the other. And Jared, you're either going to let me know what year you want to get into or where you want to start today.
Well, this is interesting. I normally don't think about this that much, but where I'm going, I just had to lay it out it's not chronological. It's not sequential. It's unstuck in time, as Kurt Vonnegut wrote about Billy Pilgrim and Slaughterhouse-Five.
Ooh, good reference.
And it's interesting. When I read Slaughterhouse-Five, I was very familiar with it because I'd always been living that way. Because the year that is responsible for so much here is a very violent year in 1987.
Yes.
But I want to start in 1997.
Okay.
Which was an incredible year until I paused to ponder it, until it stopped.
Okay.
And then 1998. So it's going to go 97, 98, 87.
Okay, we're going to go 2 years in sequential and then 10 years prior.
Right.
Okay.
And people, this is a content warning. Okay. And not only that, not only content of material, but content of character.
Okay.
So in 1997, I was the morning show on a classic rock radio station.
Was this the one in Farmington?
Yes.
Okay.
I was very young. I was very drunk. And I would quit. And I went from what I thought was the top of the world, everything I wanted to be. Like when I was in college and I was working at an AM station just to support me, doing commercials and stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah. I would listen to this guy, Jeff Holiday, who did middays on Big Dog. And credit to Dan Kelly and the Big Dog people there, Sherry Curry, these incredible big market people who were in that smaller area. It was a banger station. Like it was everything. I would listen to this guy, Jeff Holiday, doing his all request show. And I was like, that's it. You know, I probably should have set as a matter of fact, you said, move to Denver. My dad will get you a job. And I was like, hey, dude, I'm hooked up. I'm hooked up, sister. I'm making $1,400 a month right now.
And back in 97, that was a lot of good radio dough.
Yeah. So everything is good. I'm drinking way too much. I'm partying way too much. And
what are you, 22, 23?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd never been hated, you know, and people really hated me. And it was going back to being bullied in a way that I, in a way, earned it, because especially on a commercial radio station, if you're going to throw fire, you're going to get fire. And I was too young to understand that 100%.
Well, you went banging out with like Shock Jock, and maybe Farmington just wasn't ready for that.
Well, and it was progressive Shock Jock.
Okay.
In oil country.
Oh.
You know, I don't know. There was too much learning taking place to be functional, and I was not sober, and I was not sleeping.
And you were 22, 23.
Well,
you know.
and then
Okay.
A wrecking ball comes swinging in.
Okay. Not Miley Cyrus.
I was, she could have been part of the party. So I had what I called a makeout club with the women at the radio station.
Oh.
And so
I need to join a club like that.
Yeah, I know, it was really ridiculous. So a couple of the women were married, and we had some good times. And then when Gulf Star Communications wanted to buy these stations, one of the women that I'd hooked up with had been physically abused by her boss, who was the half brother of the owner.
Oh.
So she had a very legit lawsuit against this guy.
For sure.
So when Gulf Star, which would eventually get, I think, consumed by Clear Channel, came in from Texas, they were like, we want to make sure everything's clean before we buy it. She comes out and says, this guy's been abusing me. Like, I one time caught him, you know, and it's hard working in a place where you might get beat up.
Yeah.
And, or get in a fight. I was pretty confident at the time, but he was a big dude. So she had a legitimate case against him.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Okay.
This is crazy. So I don't want to name names here, but someone came up with money to pay off one of the women that was in our makeout club.
Wow.
To sell out the woman who'd made the lawsuit.
Oh.
So this one woman was paid to impugn her character so her lawsuit might not have any weight, which also meant that her 6'10" husband was aware of it. I got a note in my mailbox at work that was written, you know, in illegibly in some hand that I might not recognize who it was. It said, "Be careful, lover boy, you're in trouble."
Whoa, so that's like a direct threat at work.
And it sucks because things are finally coming together, like, for me on the air there, and where Mark and Brian, their syndicated show, they just came to town. People kind of jump ship for them immediately, and then they start coming back to us. And I'm starting to feel myself. Like I'm starting to feel like, oh my God, okay, I'm a guy. But also that feeling came along with confidence and, of course, things like the Makeout Club. So, so anyway, to be clear, so there's this one woman, lovely woman. She was a competitive aerobics dancer. And she, you know, had a very legitimate complaint against a very aggressive, her employer, who was very aggressive, direct employer. And so they paid her friend, had been friend, to rat her out. To delegitimize her lawsuit.
Now, real quick, in the Makeout Club, did the two ladies know that they were both in it?
Oh,
or were
yeah,
you all
yeah,
together,
we were
like
together. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of people. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Step Back In Hotel will never be the same in Aztec,
my gosh.
New Mexico. Anyway, so, and you know, it's disgusting that I kind of pride myself on this stuff.
But that's you today saying this?
Yeah, yeah.
23-year-old Jared is going like, high five, I'm getting it. I'm a big radio guy.
And it's going to kind of tie together to 98 and then back to 1987. I don't necessarily realize at this time that how much, and this is a thing I think with content creators, maybe artists or maybe anybody, but you define yourself too much by one thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it was being good on the radio and hooking up. Period. And only because it wasn't necessarily the hooking up, it was the idea that I could, so I was more creative, I was energetic. You know, like in a relationship, that first, you know, few weeks, woo, 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 romance, and then like 10 years later, like, what happened to you? I'm like, oh, yeah, my hookup juice turned off. But, so I'm completely defined by this. And the one woman's ratted out the other woman, and then they call me in. Gulf Star and the current owner call me into a meeting.
Is it HR or management?
There was really no HR. There was this woman named Deb who occasionally would play voicemails of people who wanted to kill me just to remind me that I needed to be careful in Farmington.
Gee.
And this was a lot. Like, I would listen to, my boss wanted me to listen to my air checks as I drove home to Durango, and I would get so stressed out. One time I blacked out and just drove in a ditch.
Really?
Like, I was so stressed out. And, so they call me in for a meeting, and I realize I can't work at this place anymore. Like, there's no way I can take any of this money because I know what they've already done to the one woman. Wow. She's told me. I already got a warning from this anonymous letter who I knew that was from another saleswoman. And I can't believe this other woman just sold everybody out. So, but that's what money does. She did get breast implants with that money, though. So
it must have been a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So were you, real quick, were you the only male in the Makeout Club?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So I could see people being jealous of your youth and your charisma and your bravado and your ability to just be able to land these ladies.
So I get to this meeting, and my boss, Dan, man, he was trying to look out for me. He did everything he could. And he's just a traditional radio guy through and through, and a broadcaster. He's like one of those guys that has like a shortwave antenna in his backyard and stuff, and a radio geek who does not want to be dragged into this, but he is. Mm-hmm. And so I get in this meeting, and that's when I realize, and this is a content warning. I'm sorry about me. I'm sorry about what I'm about to say.
You're fine.
But I'm in the meeting, and this guy Roscoe, who I kind of admired, but it sounded like this. And he's like, now listen. And would Roscoe sound any other way?
No, I just think of Homer Pyle or whatever. Yeah. Jim Neighbors.
Classic, he's this really tall cowboy, classic broadcaster. He would sell radio and sometimes just broadcast live right on down here. Come on down to the hootin', bootin', scootin' sale. And so he's in there and nobody's really saying anything. And there's this Gulf Star brass there and stuff. And Roscoe says, now listen, you know why we're here. You had apparently a couple menage a trois with these women, and the one woman has said this about the other woman, and we just need to verify it. We need to know what you got to say about this. And I remember I look over at Dan, who more and more I'm admiring as I go, like understanding why he has to be who he is, you know, to make this bigger than the market station work. And I looked at Roscoe and I said, I go, what do you, oh yeah. So we talked a little bit, then Roscoe goes, you want to be here, right? Don't you want to be here, Jared? And I just turned to him and I say, yes, Roscoe, because I get great pussy here. And Dan just died. You could see his soul die because he wanted me to just help the process. He wanted to get through the sale. The sale would still happen, but I was dead on the other side, and I would quit. Now, that takes me to 1998, and I moved to Portland, and I moved without any housing or any job. I just have a bunch of air checks, and I'm such a bohunk. Like, I don't know, I think a hick. You know, I'm like Midnight Cowboy. I'm like John Voight in Midnight Cowboy. I've never been to a city. I didn't have a home, so I lived in my car. I thought I could just go into a radio station with an air check, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, come by tomorrow morning. I couldn't find a place to live. One time, I'm in North Portland, and I was trying to find this place, this address that somebody had told me.
Yeah, before
and I'm like
GPS.
shaking doors trying to get in, and I'm like, now I look at it, I could have been killed. I'm like shaking. So there's no cell phones. And so I had a payphone by a 7-Eleven that I would park my car to, and I would call radio stations, and I'd call housing. And one time this guy says, are you waiting for a call back? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, they don't take calls because the drug deals, they stop the payphones from taking calls. So if anybody tried to call me from a radio station or whatever, so I'm like drinking Slurpees and hanging out in my car by this payphone.
Waiting for it to ring.
Waiting for somebody to call.
Ring.
So there is a story about how I got a radio job, which is the most insane story, but I think I'll save it. It's a crazy because there's too much happening.
All right, that's another tease.
It's the craziest story, but I would get a radio job there because of this insane story
Portland.
That involves aliens, and that's not a goddamn lie.
Woo.
Yes, and not illegal aliens, not undocumented, crazy story. But anyway,
so just to recap.
Yeah.
You've gone into the meeting with the brass from Gold Star. You've dropped the P word, and you're no longer working there. You have now driven yourself to Portland trying to find work without housing, no cell phones, no GPS, and you're camped out next to a 7-Eleven payphone, not knowing that they've disabled the ability for the payphone to receive
an actual
calls.
drug dealer said, I used to make a lot of deals. I can't there because they don't take phone. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you're now drinking Slurpees and you're shaking door handles in Portland. Go.
Yeah, and I'm blowing all my money at night because I'm drinking at night, and I realize I've already asked Sarah out, and we're together, and I realize I don't want to make a life here. I don't. I wanted to go to
Durango?
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to make a life without her, and I realize who I was. I was a guy who knew women, and that's how I knew everyone. And I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go out. So I'm just drinking by myself. I would go down to this place called Henry Weinhard's, and as a brewery, and they had this brand called Blitz. And if I got enough bottles, I could go to the Fred Meyer grocery store and put them in this machine, and it would give me rebates on the bottles, a nickel a bottle. And then I'd have enough money to get more Henry Weinhard Blitz.
So you'd get blitzed on Blitz and trade in the bottles to get the redemption to buy more Blitz to get further Blitz.
Yeah, and then live on my credit card. I eventually get a place to stay. And there is so many stories. Like, I'd eventually get a place to stay, and I did not go out at all. I was working for a radio station, and I was also doing telemarketing for the Oregon State Public Interest Research Group.
Wow.
Which is like a progressive organization. And I was doing really well there. But I finally went out with as a team. We went out to party. And there was a guy there who was pretty drunk. So I said, well, you could just stay at my place if you want. I don't know where the hell you live, but I'll just give you a ride home. Well, he was, I guess, apparently had some serious issues, and I woke up to my landlady screaming because he trashed the house while he was there.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then his terrible, terrible family called me and like, where is so-and-so? And I'm like, I don't know, he trashed the house. Like, whoa. I want to know where he is, too, because I'm going to have him arrested.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll sue you because you made him drink. I'm like, I don't even know this guy. Like, I've got to clean up this house. And I don't know, this is... There's so many tangents. Is this as bad as I think it is?
No, you're pulling a Shannon, and I'm tracking with you.
Just track me.
I'm clocking you.
So my tenure at this house comes to an end when one of my roommates has a breakdown and pulls his eyes out of his head.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You have seen more than I think you have.
I did not see it. He was on the interstate, and then he started running into cars on purpose. And they put him in jail, and he needed medication, and he didn't have it, so he pulled his eyes out of his head.
Let me just take a quick pump the brakes back up.
Yeah.
How did you meet this roommate?
So
Because
I
I
would
know
go,
you clearly hasn't.
I found a real estate office that had like a laminated list of rentals.
Okay.
And so I found these people.
Wow.
And it was weird. I had to listen to she and her boyfriend have sex at night. And as they tried to cover it up with Enya, and I was like the loneliest person ever. I didn't even like the sounds of sex. And whenever I hear Enya, it's supposed to be some dream state,
No.
where we're transcending. And I just hear
Sail
Winnie
away.
and Anthony humping like animals. Yeah. It's like little prairie dogs over there.
We've had such parallel lives.
Yeah. And so I'm lying there on a day bed that I borrowed from somebody and listening to them to have sex. So this is all adding up to something.
It is.
So I've left my radio career because of the skeezery in Farmington, and I'm in a lot of credit card debt. I was homeless in Portland. I'm listening to my roommates have sex. I invite one guy over out of the kindness of my heart. He trashes the place, and then later, a roommate pulls his eyeballs out of his head, and I'm on thin mental ice.
Yes.
And I leave, and I get an apartment by myself downtown, and my buddy Travis would move out. But at this point, I'm realizing, I don't want to live without Sarah. And Sarah and I, honestly, we should have broken up and just done different things. And we admit that because I was at a loss. People would come and visit me, and like my buddy Shannon Caldwell, and she said, gosh, yeah, my friend said you weren't as funny as you used to be, and you're not. Yeah, she said that.
I remember her.
Yeah, and she's a wonderful human. And,
She is, but
that
you're still
really
funny.
crushed me. And I mean, I wasn't at the time because I was dying. So this takes us to 1987.
Okay, we're going backwards.
I feel like we should just delete this whole
no,
goddamn thing.
don't
I
even.
feel like it.
I'm right
So,
here.
I mean, my
tracking.
life as far as being a dipshit horn dog drunk had been like this.
Most boys.
And then it crashes because I realize, and it's good for me in the long term, I realized my entire life, really since the affair with my high school teacher and stuff, had been defined by being a scumbag. Like, I know, and you can try to find it, but 80% of my relationships are not good.
Okay, now there's a difference between relationships aren't good and you're a young guy who's been deflowered and enjoying.
Well,
you're not a scumbag.
I didn't realize what I was doing. I thought, I would tell my friends, I was like, dude, all these women want is someone to listen and make them laugh. And it just ends up there. Like, God damn.
That's the key to seducing.
It is. And just, if you're a young person, just know the opposite sex wants it as bad as you. Okay, That's it. So anyway, I have the keys to sex, and I thought that's everything you needed.
God.
But when you finally get the girl you want, and she lives in a different state, that's where all this. It's almost. I'm getting put. That arcade machine where they push the quarters off.
Yes.
I'm on the very edge. Also, I'm dealing with blood sugar things that it was like kind of mimics diabetes, but when I would need, I'd get super depressed. And
would alcohol affect this?
Nah, maybe, probably. I mean, I was just not eating and drinking, but like I would eat a can of tuna because that's what I could afford.
Yeah.
And I used to be able to go the whole day, but pretty soon I was crashing hard,
Wow.
and depressed. I'm writing Sarah every day. We're writing each other letters every day. I have this notebook journal. I'm writing to her there. But I still, at the same time, I don't want to not make it there. I've already produced a professional wrestling. I'm producing a professional wrestling radio show with Roddy Piper.
What?
And Playboy Buddy Rose. Yeah. And I did that for a little bit, but it was so depressing because all these guys are just broken wearing the same tights they did, in the 80s.
It's sad.
So I started working for this other woman, JJ McKay, and I'm working on a syndicated radio show for her.
And you're still in touch with her today, right?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Yeah. And none of it. Well, it's funny. I came back and I worked for another woman, JJ McKay, at Jones Satellite.
I think there's a lot of women in radio
JJ McKay.
named
It's like,
JJ
Jesus,
McKay.
go with another initial, GG.
I'm remembering the Jones radio.
Yeah,
network.
that JJ who just strung me along for a decade. But anyway, I realize the truth about me. I mean, A, I'm probably an alcoholic. B, I had defined my entire being on hooking up. Even though I didn't that much, I just knew how to talk to women, And well, I say not that much. It wasn't like, And this takes me back. And then there's a moment that changes everything. And I remember 1987. And it was a very violent year. And it was a year that I'd been bullied so much. I mean, in second grade, I got beat up so badly that a teacher, this is so 80s, I couldn't see because my eyes were swollen shut. I got beat up by Casey Casey Holiday and Audie Thomas. They were cousins. Their
Jerks.
moms were twins named Billy and Bobby. And if you want to see tough women, find Billy and Bobby.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Their father had wanted boys, and he treated them just like that. And they had these kids, and they would jump kids, and they jumped me.
Oh.
I couldn't even see. Holly Hodson was a teacher, and she walked me to the bus. And what horror for my mother to have her. I can't even see to get off the bus, and I might have a green windbreaker covered in blood. And then the next year, a few guys tie me up and scratch their initials in the sunburn on my chest. Yeah, I still have apology letters. And I don't know why. I mean, I think part of it, I wasn't a cowboy up there. And another part is I start to realize that I can get to anybody with wit.
Yeah.
And it really pisses people off. And so they would just beat the out of me.
Wow.
And but the good thing is I'm tough. I can handle it.
Okay.
I can handle it. I mean, granted, some of my friends had to find me tied up on the football field, which is probably more traumatic for them than me. And Miss Ashby, the principal, had them each write a letter to me, which I still have.
Good. I want to read those someday.
And then I get into middle school in 1987, and things are pretty rough. There's a lot of fighting and bullying. And, I mean, my friends are like, Jared, you don't what's happening? And I'm like, I don't know. People are just kicking the shit out of me on a regular basis.
You're just giving off some sort of vibe, and they want to beat you
Yeah,
up.
and I'm cracking them with the wit, and they can't take it. And so it's one of those things where you want to go home and not have it happen. But there was a night, and I always wanted a better life for my brother because my dad made it hell on him. Yeah. And the irony is I wanted a better life for my dad too. He would eventually get it once we all moved out, which all made us feel like we'd been the issue, which he was not shy about sharing. Mm-hmm. But, he beat up my brother pretty bad in 1987. And it was just so dumb. It was so dumb. It was rare our family was all together, and we were in my sister's bedroom, kind of putting her to bed, and we're all together in the room. Like, it was weird, and at that time my dad was out drinking a lot, so it was weird we're all there. And I say some crack off something, and my brother, who is I think a junior at the time, kind of just smacks me on the head like, mm-hmm. Jared, shut up.
Yeah.
And my dad went bananas on him and threw him down the stairs. Ooh. And then it was just ugly. You're just ashamed to be a part of it. And then my dad breaks down, and it's just ugly. Mm. And I remember I didn't sleep that night, but I remember telling myself that there's going to be a future, mm-hmm. but you have to get out. Mm-hmm. You have to. What I told myself is that when I was a grown up, I was going to be a time traveler, letting me it was going to be okay. And I'm in Portland, and I'm at the end of my fucking rope because I thought I was better in radio. I thought I was better at everything. And then I realized it was all a goddamn sham. And because of just confidence. Mm-hmm. It's like the housing market. Certain neighborhoods are worth a lot because people just are confident in it. Just optimistic, It's the whole economy is based on optimism. And my mental economy was based on this hookup optimism. And I remember 1987, and I remember that terrible night. And I remember telling myself, you're going to go to the future and it's going to be okay. And it's like, you can't let that guy down.
Wow.
Like, and so I bowed up and I did some good things in Portland. I mean, not bad. I do have the problem, which I found out is like a PTSD thing where if there's someone in the room who needs help, you're going to help them even if it's a problem.
We're like that.
Yeah. And there's this guy, Leroy, who took me to the bottom of the sea, who worked at this radio station, and I helped him. I let him on my show, and he was terrible. And it just... but in a way it ensured what I knew. I did what I could in Portland. I learned more than any person should have to, and I came home.
How long were you
Durango.
there?
9 months.
Okay. I'm sure it was
9
long, painful months.
When I got back to Durango, I was so excited that I did this little dance, and in doing so, I caught my glasses and threw them. And I couldn't see. And I'm like driving. I'm like, shit, I can't see. And I like drove up on a sidewalk by the Adobe Inn because I couldn't see anything. Jesus Christ. And there's like people like running on the sidewalk. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I couldn't. So,
were you doing the dance because you realized you were in love with Sarah? And
yeah. Well, and I was back and I knew what was going to happen. It was weird. The first time I left Durango to go to Portland, my tires weren't touching the road. I just did it because I felt I needed to do it. But the second time I could feel the rubber on the road, like, you need to go somewhere else. And I want to go back there, but you need to go somewhere else and do some stuff. And you can do it with Sarah and feel good.
Okay.
And build a foundation that isn't based on, absolute literal fuckery. So
Yes. Or just like, being young and drinking a lot, which is a normal thing. And, just kind of being, you don't really have a North Star guiding you. You're just kind of showing up.
no, as I tell my friends, I was driven around by Mr. Wiggly, and like these eyes were a periscope for my penis. I mean, it was just like, but it wasn't like, hey, you're hot, you're hot. I mean, I was restrained, and I think that helped. Everything that was supposed to be about respect helped me be a scumbag.
But here's
it was
the thing.
amazing.
You are not a like even the teacher thing from high school.
Yeah.
She did not create a scumbag. I remember being at parties with you and talking to you. You were, and still are, charming, witty, funny, and women love that. And so you weren't a scumbag. Believe me, I got stories like those for days.
Well, I bet. And that's the thing. Like, my dad used to embarrass me. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm really coming down on my dad. I really, really like this guy. I mean, what an amazing, heroic character. We just didn't get that side as kids,
I think, though, there's the dad that you can objectively see in the community, in the world. And then there's the dad that you're like, you're my dad, but you let me down in these areas. And I have that with my dad. And we're human beings. No one's perfect. And there's no handbook for being a parent. So I'm not like saying your dad's off the hook, but
right.
Like, it's okay to have some opinions on how you were treated growing up.
No, someone kind of came after me after he died because, he had this, he finally got the life he wanted, and he was this hero he always could have been. And people were kind of objected to some of my stories. And I just told one, I was like, there's a reason my brother got up on stage and said a few things, dropped the mic, and then went back to Florida.
Yeah.
Like, his life got effed. And I saw it over and over again. And he never could get anywhere because of that bullshit.
Yeah.
But but it's the irony is like, growing up in that bar with my dad and how he would flirt and treat women, and I was like, I figured out he taught me how not to do that, And granted, yes, I flirted, and yeah, I'm gonna have a creep show, but like it was consensual, like we were having fun,
yes,
and not just grabbing someone or
right.
Putting him on the spot, and but so I hope that made some sense because 97 and 98, I was up here, I ended up way down here, and then I was reminded by my inner child that I'd been sent from the future to remind him that everything's going to be okay.
I love the fact that at that young age, that night in 87, you were mature enough to say, you're going to go places in the future. You're going to go further than this, and don't let that guy down. Like, I didn't have that kind of a epiphany until I was in my 20s, so I'm super impressed.
Well, it was those kind of epiphanies that made me look smarter than I was, and don't negate it. I'm going to tell you this: made me look smarter than I actually am or was, because there is this like little tiny bit of brilliance, but those things I spread it across the bread like thin layer of mayonnaise, and it's also what led to the teacher thing because she got hooked on that little tiny fucking hook. The rest of it not that smart, but there is this one part that illuminates some shit that people get giddy about, and now you and I together, I'm trying to shed more light on that,
and that's good. And I hope, though, while you're trying to shed more light on that you can also forgive yourself, because you're lambasting yourself as if you've done just this horrible thing, and you were just a young guy who was sowing his
oats. And I don't think it was that horrible of a thing. I just, what I'd realized is that I was relying on it, and that was just part of the growing pains of, getting into an actual relationship, which I really never had been in.
Yeah.
And wanting it to work. Right. So, and that's when I was like, and being alone and drunk in Portland, and my buddies Jason and Travis would eventually come out, and then they would move away. that was the darkest month ever when they left me behind and I was by myself again. I'm like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like homesick. You're having FOMO. You're feeling like
it's funny. There's a station where I worked was in Vancouver, Washington. When I first got the call, they said they were in Vancouver. I thought it was British Columbia. So I was like, son of a bitch, I am there. And then I went to this shitty little town on the other side of the bridge in Vancouver, Washington. I'm sure it's a wonderful place, but back then it was a little disappointing. And one night, that last night I was there, I was going to go in the studio to do this show, which was going to be kind of my show, but I let Leroy rename it to The Point of No Return. It was me. He was the conspiracy theorist, and then there was a psychic, and this was this show. Oh, God.
It doesn't sound bad.
Well, it would have been great, but I was too nice, and I let people have too much say. And plus, I had a lot to learn. The other job I had at that station at the time, I was producing a syndicated show called The Affection Connection, where it was a dating show, and I would just get my friends and family to pretend they would be single and be dynamic on the air to convince people to call a 900 number to maybe hook up with them, even though they weren't single. They were just dynamic on the air. Jesus Christ,
need that
radio.
job.
Yeah. So I was getting paid $6 an hour to produce this nationwide show. And,
$6.
Yeah. And so I had, that job. And then I was doing that show, the Point of No Return. And then I had another a client there was he was an OB, he was a GOI, he was a gynecologist.
Okay.
And he was promoting Viagra for women. So he paid me to do hour-long shows with him to talk about Viagra for women. So if I ever know more about womanhood than you might imagine, it's because I produced shows with this guy promoting Viagra for women until apparently he was shut down for whatever reason. So
wow.
So there was a lot of cool things, but the last
and
night,
the wrestling show,
which I'd left because it was really depressing, and I thought I just was not good at it. Like my brain was elsewhere, and so a lot of neat things, but I just wasn't there to add it up to anything. And that last night I was there, I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I'm looking at the power lines that go over the station, and I imagine myself as electricity, and I'm traveling away. And I was like, you're not going to be able to go that fast, but you can get the hell out.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
That's like deep thoughts.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure that's my time.
No, it's not. But wow. Okay. Couple things. Because in 87, that was 7th grade, I was bullied for the first time in my life. And it was and you said it last episode, for the first time in your life as a kid, like you're dealing with the fact that people hate you or they don't like you or they just have a problem with you just by existing. And these girls, Marty Babb and her crew, were so mean to me that I would go and sit in the girls' room, in the restroom, and hide in the stall during lunch. And they bullied me out of the school to where I switched to a different school. But that is still so fresh with me. And so anytime I hear of anyone being bullied, or even still that it's an issue in life, I just am ready to throw down and fight, because I just cannot stand a bully.
That's weird. This is not bragging at all, but from the bully perspective, many of the guys who bullied me the most have died from suicide.
Oh, yeah. I'm not laughing. I didn't expect that.
That I think, for what, maybe it's not connected, but whatever they were dealing with that made them beat the living shit out of me. Maybe it was some emptiness they couldn't shake in adulthood. And I mean, there's like 4 of them.
And again, like who knows what they saw at home. But
yeah, and I think there's some stuff of, I don't know, I've always equated it to small town heroism, where you're all the rage when you're in high school, and then the world does not give any damns about you. The city, I think, prepares you for that.
Yeah.
But,
not from where you're from.
No, I mean, I joined a college football team because I thought I was good at football, but it was only because we had 13 people to play. But, yeah. So, anyway, I shouldn't stand up for the bullies. I'm just saying.
You're not.
But it's messed up, and I get the same way when I hear about. I'm still looking for vengeance on somebody.
Yeah,
somebody out there is going to do something to somebody, and I'm just going to lose it because it's there.
Like I said, I have a short fuse for bullies, and can justify pummeling someone over that, and that's scary. Yeah. And when I have said in previous episodes how angry I used to be, I think that's still pretty much in there. I just have to tap into that red dragon and it's on, kind of a thing. Your wit being there before you were bullied is an awesome thing, because I feel like my sense of humor developed out of being teased for being fat and my dad for the job he had. And so it was like my sense of humor developed as a way to throw my bully off or whoever was taunting me and make them laugh before they could make fun of me or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Mine would sometimes work that way, but a lot of times I would just keep hitting them verbally even while they were hitting me physically. So,
Did you ever find out about anything more on the weird little situation at the Farmington station and the person that left you that note in your mailbox?
yeah, Denise.
Denise. Not very Denise.
No, yeah, she was the daughter of Roscoe, I think. No, that was Piper. I don't know who she was, but she was a salesperson there. Well, so this is scary, and I'm sorry that I was a part of it, but one of the woman who was getting harassed by the sales manager and was with me, she went home and her husband had cut all her clothes up in little pieces.
Wow.
Yeah, and as a threat. So
Oh, I'd kill somebody if they did
yeah,
that.
and so it was it was terrible, and God, she's a grown up too. She was part of it, and I mean she's more grown up than me.
Yep.
And yeah, that's where it got. There's always you watch any movie, you watch Boogie Nights,
Yeah.
and there's this party, and then there's the hangover, and it was the same thing. I mean, life is an arc, and we have the
Yeah.
actual climax, and then this chaos. So, yeah, I can't ask for a better life. I often tell Sarah, it's like, it's good that I rock and rolled, and I just
Got it out of your system.
Yeah, I want to mess around with gutters and try to fix them.
Fixing the universe out there, straightening manholes.
There's definitely something there. People always ask me, like, why were you all these characters? I was Crime Fighter.
Yes.
And I was, for a while before Crime Fighter, I was a guy that would sing everything I said, which, God, that must have been annoying because I can't sing or play guitar. And I don't know what that is. I do not know. But I think it is something to do with just, I don't know, being, I don't know, something else, I guess.
I think it's that you're creative, you're brilliant. Did it come from things you witnessed as a kid? Maybe. Maybe these are these imaginary superheroes like Crime Fighter who you wish could come and save you back during some of those times. I don't know. Because when I got to know you in college, those were the years you were Crime Fighter. So that's how I knew. But I didn't ever know that there were all these things that had happened because we were too immature to bond like that back then. I think it was just like, hey, yeah, we're the same age and we're in college and let's go party,
I've gone beyond my time.
Oh, God.
Don't you think?
Okay. We're going to...
No, I don't mean to cut you out. I just was realizing, because I'm not feeling great about this episode. I think I could have told the story better.
I think you told it fine.
There was a lot going on, and I took too long
I think
set it up.
You didn't name anybody. You've explained yourself. You had me interrupting you with recaps and trying to...
Okay, and let me just apologize. You were talking there, and I started thinking about time, which did not leave me available to converse with you and what you just said.
That's why, it's okay. We're still going to be under our normal time. Okay, so that's a good way to close Season 2, Episode 2, Jared Iwi. Talk to me about some of the things you have going on that are coming up for you.
Well, you and I are doing The Moth. I pretty much just suspended other shows. I don't know. I'm just busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy. And I used to try to do it all I can. I'm just trying to, make money, and I've got house issues I'm fixing and et cetera, but, and remodel. But, really that's the thing. And then just working on writing, and I'm going to MC the Concorda Elegance, which is a big car show. I think there's like 8,000 people that show up there.
And that's coming up.
Sunday, June 9th.
Okay, what time?
And that's 9 to 3 all day at Arapahoe Community College. It's a bunch of cars.
It's going to be awesome.
It will
Classic,
be awesome.
Beautiful
and
cars.
Our buddy Kathy J is going to run an interview about that coming up this week, I think. And
nice.
For some reason, the city of Littleton didn't put it in their citywide newsletter. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, my gosh.
What's going on, David?
They need to send out a whole new, special, this weekend only.
Special report. So, and you?
Me. I'm going to Texas for training for work, coming home, and then the next night going to the Moth with you to try to tell my story about my guts.
I haven't received any rough drafts.
I know. Yeah, I'm a little constipated on the rough draft.
You got to shit it out, Shannon. Just get it out. You don't have to send it to me. I think it's
No,
good if you do.
I need to send it
But
to
you
you.
need to you got to do it today. Your assignment today.
Yeah, today.
And this is easy. Just get past yourself. You're gonna have to get past yourself because there's gonna be a big hulking you in your head like I don't like it, Boyles. But you got to get it out. It might be 37 minutes long. I am there to listen to it.
Perfect. And that is my same prescription for you and how you feel about this episode. Get past yourself.
I know. I'm
Deal?
sorry for shitting it out.
You
all
didn't.
over
You didn't. You told it beautifully.
Okay.
Until next time, friends, this has been the Extracted Podcast with Jared Iwi, Season 2, Episode 2.